In the last video, I shared why I'm speaking about spirituality at all and where my inner journey began. In this video, I want to share how the practices actually unfolded for me. Not suddenly, not perfectly, but gradually over years. And I want to start by saying this clearly. I didn't begin with everything at once. My journey unfolded in layers. Pranayama first, then meditation, and finally yoga. That felt accessible. Around that time, a friend mentioned something very simple but striking to me, that most of us don't actually use our lungs to their full capacity, and that pranayama helps train the respiratory system to function more fully. That immediately resonated with me. As a science student, that framing felt practical, almost physiological rather than spiritual. It felt something I could experiment with. So I started with very simple breathing exercises. Nothing intense, nothing advanced, just awareness, just gentle regulation. Over time, I noticed a quiet but powerful shift. In moments of stress, my breath no longer collapsed immediately. Earlier, stressful situations would automatically trigger shallow breathing. Now, even before my thoughts fully reacted, there was a pause. That pause changed my relationship with stress, and that pause became the foundation for everything that followed. Meditation didn't enter my life suddenly. In fact, the idea of meditation came much earlier, through a cousin of mine who spoke about it with sincerity and conviction. At the time I listened. I was curious, but I was not ready. It took several years before I could find my own rhythm, my own way in, and that matters. Sometimes inspiration arrives long before readiness. When I finally did begin meditation seriously, the experience was not at all what I expected. It benefited me very differently from how I expected it to be, and it exceeded my expectations. More of that in a later video. And even today, a couple of years since I started this journey, I want to be very honest. I have not mastered meditation. There are days when it feels deep and spacious, and there are days when my mind wanders constantly. But what changed is not the wandering, it's my acceptance of it. I no longer treat distraction as a failure. If the mind wanders, it wanders. If awareness returns, it returns. That acceptance is the practice. There is one more thing I want to emphasize, because it made a real difference to me. The practice doesn't have to feel perfect. It doesn't even have to feel meaningful every day. Consistency is the key. In the beginning, it's okay if it feels like a chore. It's okay if it feels like something you're just checking off a list. That's how it was for me. But when you stay consistent, when you show up every day, even briefly, something interesting happens after a few months. The practice becomes part of your rhythm. You don't feel like breaking it as easily, and the chances that you will keep going and actually benefit from it go up significantly. Not because you are forcing discipline, but because the body and mind begin to recognize the value. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on habit. And that shift is powerful. Yoga entered my life after pranayama and meditation had already begun reshaping my inner world. Yoga brought something essential. It improved my physical health. My energy levels increased. My body became more flexible and resilient. But more importantly, yoga taught me something deeper, that mind-body balance matters. Through posture, balance, effort, and release, my body learned stability without force. What meditation taught my mind, yoga taught my body. Together, they completed the circle. Pranayama regulated the nervous system. Meditation trained awareness. Yoga embodied balance and strength. This integration changed not just how I practiced, but how I lived. Over time, I began noticing changes that were hard to describe. Not dramatic events, not instant transformations, but small, quiet shifts that felt almost miraculous. At the time, I didn't call them that. I just knew something meaningful was happening beneath the surface. These practices were born and nurtured in the East, especially in India, with discipline, structure, and deep reverence. That structure carries wisdom, but it also comes with a certain rigidity. I want to be honest about something here. One small but very real reason I didn't start meditation seriously earlier was this sense of rigidity dictated by Eastern tradition. The emphasis on rules, physical cleanliness, specific postures, certain times, certain ways of doing things made meditation feel intimidating. Having grown up in India, going against these norms felt almost blasphemous. It felt like if I didn't do it exactly right, I shouldn't do it at all. And so I waited. What changed for me was exposure to Western studies and perspectives, which approached meditation less as a sacred ritual and more as a way of regulating the nervous system and cultivating awareness. That shift gave me permission to experiment, to try meditation lying down, to let go of fear around doing it wrong, to focus on sincerity rather than form. Some of my most meaningful meditative experiences actually happened when I released the pressure to follow every rule. And my lived experience has shown me this. Not following every prescribed rule did not ruin me. It didn't derail my journey. If anything, it allowed it to begin. So, if you're holding yourself back from starting because you're worried that not sticking to every rule might somehow harm you, I want to say this gently. Sincerity matters more than rigidity. Presence matters more than perfection. Don't let fear of breaking rules stop you from discovering what's possible for you. Over time, I realized something quietly profound. I wasn't just practicing spirituality, I was living its essence. The Bhagavad Gita speaks about doing your work sincerely without attachment to results. I experienced this truth not just during meditation, but in daily life. I practice sincerely, I show up, and I let go of chasing outcomes. Some days feel expansive, some days don't, and have learned to accept both. Oh, by the way, when I previously used the word miracles, I want to be very clear about what I meant. I don't mean dramatic or supernatural events, not the kind often associated with spirituality. What I mean is something much quieter. The true self begins to emerge. A version of you that is naturally calm, naturally kind, naturally steady. At this point in my life, this is my current hypothesis, that many negative emotions are learned, conditioned, and built over time. And when inner noise reduces, what remains is surprisingly positive. As an engineer and as someone who loves science, I'm comfortable holding evolving hypotheses, open to refining them as new observations emerge. These experiments will continue throughout my life. My understanding may evolve, my hypothesis may change, and that's okay. Acceptance is key, even as things continue to unfold. Looking back now, the experiences I once thought were negative no longer feel negative. They feel like preparation. It's as if the right time arrived and I was gently led down this path. The journey felt daunting while I was in it, but in retrospect, it felt deeply worth it. So if you're struggling right now, especially if it feels heavy or confusing, I want to offer this gently. It may not be punishment. It may not be failure. It might be the universe leading you towards a gift, even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment. I am sharing this not as a prescription, but as a lived process. Take baby steps. Build gradually. Accept imperfection. Do your best sincerely and don't worry too much about the results. In the next video, I will talk about how these inner changes began showing up outwardly, in relationships, in comparison, in work, and in how I accept life as it unfolds. These are my experiments with spirituality, and they are still unfolding.